Stop scrolling. Everything you believe about history is wrong. Everything you learned about the rise of humanity is a lie. The truth is, you are not here because we are smart. You are here because of a moment so violent, so terrifying, that it fundamentally shattered the laws of physics on Earth. This is not science fiction. This is the absolutely true, documented story of the day a piece of space rock, a primordial mountain, slammed into our planet and ended the greatest dynasty life has ever known. Get ready. You are about to witness the final 48 hours of the dinosaurs' reign. And trust me, you won't look away. The last roar echoes from the age of giants. In the fading light of a prehistoric sunset, where the sky bled orange and purple over vast fern forests, a young Tyrannosaurus rex named Krag stirred from his nest. The world was a symphony of roars, rustles, and the distant thunder of herds migrating across the lush plains. This was the Cretaceous period, 66 million years ago, a time when giants ruled the earth. Dinosaurs like Krag dominated the landscape, from the towering Brachiosaurus that grazed on treetops to the swift velociraptors that hunted in packs. But unseen forces were aligning in the cosmos, forces that would shatter this paradise forever. Krag was no ordinary T-Rex. Born under a comet's tail that streaked across the night sky, he had grown faster and stronger than his siblings, his scales a deep emerald that blended with the undergrowth. His mother, a massive matriarch called Thara, had taught him the ways of the hunt. How to stalk the Triceratops herds, how to use his powerful jaws to crush bone and sinew. "The world is ours," she would rumble, her voice echoing like an earthquake. "We are the kings of this land." But lately, the world felt off. The air carried a strange humidity, thicker than usual, and the volcanoes in the distance belched more smoke than ever. Scientists today know this as the Deccan Traps in what is now India, massive volcanic eruptions that had been pumping sulfur and carbon dioxide into the atmosphere for thousands of years, slowly warming the planet and acidifying the oceans. But to Krag, it was just an itch in his scales, a vague unease that made the prey scarcer and the nights longer. Far across the globe, in the shallow seas off the Yucatan Peninsula, what modern humans call Mexico, a different drama was unfolding. Beneath the waves, marine life thrived. Ammonites spiraled through the water, mosasaurs glided like serpents, and pterosaurs skimmed the surface for fish. Little did they know that a colossal asteroid, roughly 6 miles wide, was hurtling through space at 45,000 miles per hour. This was the Chicxulub impactor, a chunk of rock and metal from the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, dislodged eons ago and now on a collision course with Earth. Imagine it, a fiery streak blazing across the sky, brighter than the sun. Krag lifted his head one fateful morning, his keen eyes spotting the anomaly. It wasn't a comet this time, it was doom incarnate. The asteroid slammed into the Earth at Chicxulub, releasing energy equivalent to billions of atomic bombs. The impact vaporized rock, sending a plume of debris miles into the atmosphere. Tsunamis hundreds of feet tall raced across the oceans, drowning coastlines and flooding inland areas. In the immediate aftermath, the ground shook violently. Krag felt the earth heave beneath him, trees toppling like matchsticks. Dust and ejecta, molten glass spheres called tektites, rained down, igniting wildfires that swept across continents. The sky darkened as sulfuric aerosols and soot blocked the sun, plunging the world into an impact winter. Temperatures plummeted, photosynthesis halted, and the food chain collapsed. But let's rewind and build this story layer by layer, as if we were there, witnessing the end of an era. This tale is rooted in real science, the Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event, or KPG boundary, marked by a thin layer of iridium-rich clay found worldwide, evidence of the asteroid's extraterrestrial origin. Paleontologists have pieced it together from fossils, craters, and simulations. For our American audience, think of it as the ultimate disaster movie, but one that actually happened, bigger than any Hollywood blockbuster, with stakes that reshaped life on Earth. Chapter 1: The Golden Age. Before the fall, the Cretaceous was a golden age. Picture North America as a subtropical paradise, divided by the Western Interseaway, a vast inland sea teeming with life. In what is now Montana and Wyoming, herds of hadrosaurs, the duck-billed dinosaurs, roamed the floodplains, their calls like trumpets echoing over the rivers. Krag's territory was here, in the Hell Creek Formation, a lush wetland where ferns grew as tall as trees and cycads dotted the landscape. Krag's pack included his siblings, the cunning female Raya, who was faster and smarter, always one step ahead in ambushes, and the bulky brother Gron, whose strength rivaled their mother's. Thara led them with iron will, teaching survival in a world full of dangers. "Watch the skies," she warned, "the flying ones are thieves." Pterosaurs like Quetzalcoatlus, with wingspans up to 40 feet, soared overhead, casting shadows that could startle even the mightiest predator. Life was a cycle of hunt, feast, and rest. One day, as the sun climbed high, Krag spotted a lone Ankylosaurus, its armored back glistening in the light. The creature was a tank on legs, clubbed tail swinging like a mace. Krag signaled to Raya and Gron with a low growl. They circled, using the dense foliage for cover. The attack was swift. Gron charged from the front, distracting it, while Raya nipped at its flanks. Krag went for the throat, his 60 serrated teeth sinking in. Blood sprayed, and the beast fell with a thud that shook the ground. As they feasted, unaware of the cosmic threat, the volcanoes raged on the other side of the world. The Deccan Traps eruptions had been ongoing for about 1,000,000 years, releasing enough lava to cover the United States in a layer several feet thick. This volcanism contributed to climate stress, but it was the asteroid that delivered the knockout blow. Recent studies, like those from PNAS, show that the impact winter alone could have devastated dinosaur habitats, with global cooling lasting years. Chapter 2: Omens in the Sky. Weeks before the impact, omens appeared. The air grew hazy from volcanic ash, and acid rain scorched the leaves. Fish in the rivers floated belly up, their scales eroded by ocean acidification spilling into freshwater systems. Marine fossils from this time show a die-off of plankton, the base of the food chain, due to the changing chemistry. Krag noticed the changes. Prey animals were thinner, more aggressive. A pack of trudons, small, intelligent theropods, raided their kills more boldly, their bird-like eyes gleaming with desperation. One night, under a full moon, a comet shower lit the sky. Thara gathered her young. "The stars are falling," she rumbled. "It means change." In reality, comets and asteroids were common, but this one was special. The Chicxulub crater, discovered in the 1970s by oil geologists, is 93 miles wide and buried under sediment. Drilling projects like the one in 2001 by the International Continental Scientific Drilling Program revealed shocked quartz and melt rock, signs of immense pressure and heat. As the asteroid approached, entering Earth's atmosphere, it compressed the air ahead of it, creating a fireball. Witnesses, if there were any, would have seen a second sun blazing brighter by the moment. Chapter 3: The Moment of Impact. It happened at dawn. The asteroid struck the Yucatan at a shallow angle, maximizing destruction. The energy release was 100 teratons of TNT, enough to vaporize the ocean water and bedrock instantly. A crater formed in seconds, ejecting billions of tons into space. From Krag's perspective, far in North America, the first sign was a blinding flash on the horizon, like lightning but unending. Then came the shockwave, a roar louder than any thunder, flattening forests and hurling dinosaurs into the air. Earthquakes of magnitude 10 plus rippled outward, triggering landslides and volcanic activity. Tsunamis followed. The impact generated waves over 1,000 feet high, as modeled in AGU studies. They slammed into coastlines, flooding the seaway and drowning everything in their path. Back on land, the ejecta re-entered the atmosphere as meteors, heating the air to oven temperatures. Wildfires ignited globally, charring vegetation. Soot from these fires, combined with sulfur from the impacted gypsum rocks, created a nuclear winter effect. Sunlight was blocked for months, perhaps years. Krag and his pack fled the initial blast. Thara led them inland, away from the shaken ground. But the sky turned black, and ash fell like snow. What sorcery is this? Krag thought, his instincts screaming danger. The dawn after the long night. How mammals conquered the world after the dinosaurs died. 66 million years ago, the Earth was a graveyard. The sky had been dark for years, the oceans acidic, the forests burned or frozen. Non-avian dinosaurs, pterosaurs, mosasaurs, ammonites, 75% of all species were gone. But in the cracks of that shattered world, the meek were already moving. Year 0, year 10,000 after Chicxulub. The disaster fauna and the fern spike. The first plants to recover were ferns. They can reproduce from spores that survive fire and frost. Paleontologists call this sudden global explosion the fern spike in the rock record. Under those fern prairies, the survivors were tiny. Purgatorius, a 6-inch squirrel-like creature with grasping hands and big eyes. It ate seeds, insects, and whatever didn't rot. Fossils from Montana and Wyoming show it was already living alongside the last dinosaurs, hiding in burrows or tree hollows. Semilestes and other stem placentals, rat-sized omnivores that could eat almost anything. Multituberculates, rodent-like mammals with bizarre multi-rowed teeth. Think of them as the Cretaceous version of squirrels on steroids. These animals didn't have to compete with dinosaurs anymore. For the first time in 160 million years, there were no 10-ton predators, no packs of velociraptors, no 40-foot mosasaurs. The niches were empty. 100,000 to 1 million years after. The Paleocene, warm, swampy, and full of opportunity. Temperatures rebounded and the planet became a giant greenhouse. Tropical forests grew all the way to the Arctic Circle. Mammals exploded in size and diversity. Pantalambda, Montana, Wyoming, a sheep-sized, hoofed herbivore that looked like a ground sloth crossed with a tapir. Bisonalveus, early primates the size of mice leaping in the canopy. Carciopticus, tiny hoofed mammals that were experimenting with eating leaves instead of insects. By the end of the Paleocene, the first true carnivorous mammals appeared, creodonts and the ancestors of modern carnivores, miacids. They were still small, house cat to wolf-sized, but they were the new apex predators. 55 to 34 million years ago, the Eocene, the golden age of mammal weirdness. North America was a steamy rainforest from coast to coast. Rivers were full of crocodiles, but the land belonged to mammals now. Utatherium, Utah, Wyoming, rhino-sized beasts with 6 bony horns and saber-like tusks. Coryphodon, hippo-like swamp dwellers the size of small cars. Titanoides, bear-sized browsers that walked on their knuckles. Early horses, from dog-sized Hyracotherium, Eohippus, to slightly larger Orohippus. 4 toes on the front feet, 3 on the back, still browsing leaves in the forest. Early primates, Adapus and Notharctus in North America. Lemur-like creatures with forward-facing eyes and grasping fingers. These are our direct ancestors. Brontotheres, gigantic horned herbivores that look like rhinos on steroids. Megacerops in the Badlands could weigh 3 tons. The first bats, Onychonycteris from Wyoming, with claws on every finger, still capable of climbing trees. During the Eocene, 2 major groups of modern mammals solidified. Lorasiathers, future carnivores, horses, cows, whales, bats, and euarchontoglires, primates, rodents, rabbits. 34 million years ago, the Grande Coupature, the Great Cut. A sudden global cooling event caused by falling CO2 and the opening of the Drake Passage killed off many of the archaic Eocene mammals in Europe and Asia. In North America, the change was less severe, but it still marked the end of the weird mammal era. Brontotheres, Eutytheriums, and most creodonts vanished. 34 to 23 million years ago, the Oligocene, savannas began, dogs and cats arrive. Cooler, drier climates turned forests into open woodlands. Grass started to spread. Yes, grass itself evolved in the late Eocene, Oligocene. New players. Hyenodon, a wolf to lion-sized creodont that was North America's top predator for millions of years. Early canids, Hesperorcheion, the first true dog from Texas and Oregon. Nimravids, false saber-tooths that looked exactly like later Smilodon but weren't closely related. Entolandus, Terminator pigs, giant boar-like omnivores with bone-crushing jaws that terrorize the Great Plains. Early rhinos, Hyracoddon, galloping across open country like horses. 23 to 5 million years ago, the Miocene, the age of the ape and the horse. North America was connected to Asia via the Bering Land Bridge, allowing waves of immigration. Gomphotheres, four-tusked elephant relatives and true elephants arrived. Early apes, proconsul-like forms, briefly in North America, though most ape evolution happened in Africa and Europe. Horses diversified wildly, from three-toed Anchitherium to Parahippus to Merychippus, the first one-toed high-crowned grazers perfectly adapted to the spreading grasslands. Orodonts, sheep-pig hybrids, formed herds in the millions across the plains. Bear dogs, Amphicyon, became bear-sized super-predators. By the late Miocene, the Great Plains looked a lot like modern Africa. Open savanna with herds of horses, camels, yes, camels evolved in North America, antilocaprids, pronghorns, and packs of bone-crushing dogs. 5 to 2.5 million years ago, the Pliocene, ice ages began, the Isthmus of Panama rises. The world cooled again, grasslands expanded, forests retreated. The Great American Biotic Interchange began when North and South America connected. Giant ground sloths, glyptodonts, and terror birds marched north. Horses, saber-toothed cats, dire wolves, and Gomphotheres marched south. North America's native horses and camels thrived for a while longer, but many large herbivores started to decline as climates swung wildly between warm and cold. 2.5 million years ago, 11,700 years ago, the Pleistocene, the Ice Age megafauna. This is the era everyone pictures. Mammoths and mastodons roamed from Alaska to Florida. Smilodon fatalis and Smilodon populator hunted in packs. Dire wolves in enormous numbers, thousands of skeletons in the La Brea tar pits. Giant short-faced bears, Arctodus, standing 12 feet tall. American lions, Panthera atrox, bigger than modern African lions. Camelops, North American camels, and native horses, equispecies, galloping across the plains. Ground sloths the size of elephants, Megatherium nothrotherium. And then, around 13,000 to 11,000 years ago, most of them vanished. The reasons are still debated. Rapid climate change at the end of the Ice Age, plus human overhunting. Clovis people with spears likely combined forces. Today, the mammal world we inherited. Of the thousands of mammal genera that evolved after the asteroid, only a few hundred remain. But every single mammal alive today, from mice to blue whales, from bats to humans, traces its lineage back to those tiny, shivering, insect-eating survivors that crawled out of the burrows when the dust finally settled 66 million years ago. The dinosaurs had their 165 million year reign. Mammals got the next chapter, and we're still writing it. From the fossil-rich badlands of Wyoming and Montana to the tar pits of Los Angeles, the rocks of North America tell the whole incredible story. How the smallest and most overlooked creatures, given one cosmic stroke of luck, became the new rulers of the planet.